Hello everybody, welcome to DrawingWiffWaffles. Today I am going to be drawing TinkerBell, and if you've been with my channel for a while, you'll know that I did draw TinkerBell before, but even as I posted that video, however long ago that was probably a year and a half ago, maybe? I didn't like it, I don't know. There's just something about it, it just never rubbed me the right way, and I've wanted to draw it again since, and I'm finally getting around to it. And I've noticed that when I'm in sort of like little art blocks and like stuff's not turning out right, if I draw, this works for me, I don't think it'll work, I mean, it depends what you like the most, but I like to draw people that are sort of just like floating there, or like mermaids work, because they're like underwater, so they look like they're floating if you don't draw the water in. So, I don't know, that just helps me like get out of a funk, and I was in one a little bit, so I decided to draw TinkerBell, because I've been putting it off, so why not? And it really, really helped. I was surprised. Well, I wasn't surprised because I was expecting it slightly, because I had 3 other people that I wanted to draw for this video, but they just weren't working out. So I'm like, I'm going to draw someone floating, and there's TinkerBell. Personally, I am a fan of the old-fashioned TinkerBell, which is the TinkerBell from the Peter Pan movies from Disney, the original one. Yeah, I like spunky TinkerBell, you know, who's trying to, like, murder Wendy for half the movie. I don't know. I've always liked her, and like I've seen the newer movies where like Tinkerbell's the main character, and they've kind of like spun her into like a Disney princess type character. You know, she's like really kind and like wants to help everyone, and she's a tinker. But I mean, I've seen them. I've seen a couple, and they're pretty good. Like I enjoy them, but my fave will still be the old-fashioned spunky Tinkerbell, who's self-conscious about her hips. And I'm pretty sure I said this in the last video where I drew Tinkerbell. But yeah, if you want to check that out, you can. And see how much I've improved since whenever that was that I drew it. But yeah. Anyway, we're on the liner right now, and I'm working on the eyebrows. Took a little bit more work on that left eyebrow, but eventually I was pretty happy with it. I don't know what it is. When I draw TinkerBell, she always ends up looking like really stubby. Like her arms, like usually I draw arms much longer than this, so they look a little skinnier. Like her arms aren't fat or anything, but because they're shorter, they just seem thicker. And I don't know why that happens when I draw TinkerBell. Like, I don't usually have that problem, which is really weird. Must be some kind of mindset. So I was, like I said, I made sure I gave her thick hips like she has in the Peter Pan movie. Because, I don't know, I love those hips. I think she's awesome, and she's really self-conscious about it, you know? People are, you know? Whatever. I love them. Working on that arm. That arm gave me more grief than the left arm. Well, her left arm gave me more grief than her right arm. But eventually, I think I'm cool with it. It's good. And now here's her hair. I'm trying to go back to more of her hair from the movie instead of her newer movies. So, from the Peter Pan movie. I'm trying to make her hair look a little bit more like that because it's a little bit more frizzy and, like, explosive. Because, like, that was kind of the style back then when the movie came out. So, I made sure to do that. And then, we have the return of the color keys. I haven't seen one of these in a long time. Well, I mean, you haven't. I haven't made one in a long time. But there she is. There's TinkerBell. I drew a cute little color key to use for reference and such. I just whipped that up in like 5 minutes or something. I don't know. I put a little bit too much time into it, but I really like the way it looks. So I'm probably going to share it on some social media. So I'm just coloring, and then I gave her bright red lips like she has in Peter Pan. I think in the newer movies she's much more neutral, but I decided to give her the lips. And now I'm just coloring some of the line art so it's less harsh and making it blend in a little bit better. That was a pause. What was up with that? I don't know. Yeah, so I'm just making the line art around her skin more of a brown color, and around her lips it's much more of like a dark red. And so on and so forth. And I didn't know going in that I was going to shade this, but I decided halfway, I'm like, you know what, let's give it a shot. I haven't shaded something in forever, so let's do that. I'm still adding the flat colors, but when I start shading, I'm doing a brand new type of shading that I've never done before. Like, usually I'm into, like, cell shading, because I think it looks pretty cool, but I don't really like it when I do it. So, I decided to try a different style, which is much more soft, so I guess it's called soft shading. And it's kind of like a painterly style, but it's even softer than that, because like when you paint, like you can see like the textures in the different colors and the way it was blended. This is much more soft, and why it's called soft shading. So it's a lot of gradients and a lot using the default Photoshop soft round brush for that. And then I ended up changing like the saturations and the curves of the skin because the color just wasn't speaking to me. Didn't like it at all. And I'm just continuing that shading. I notice when it comes to soft shading, it's very, very important to use really contrasting colors, because if you don't, then it's so subtle like you're not even going to notice it. So you have to use much more contrasting colors to use it, and it's going to gradient into it just because it's so soft. So it's very important. And I ended up just I continuously added like more layers of a darker color and a darker color and a darker color until I was just like okay with it. And then I noticed right afterwards I was done, and I still wasn't 100% happy with it, but then I added like the blush and started adding some red tones to like the ends of her joints and her cheeks. Really soft ones, but as soon as I added those, I thought the skin looked so much more lively, and I just liked it way better. Now I am shading her skirt. I wanted to make sure it looked like she was leaning forward and she wasn't just like twisting her spine strangely. I wanted to make she looked like she was leaning forward. I can't even speak right now. And I think the shading helped with that, but then as soon as I added this texture of the leaves, I feel like it kind of hid it a little bit, so that's something I want to keep in mind in the future, which is why I'm saying it. So I can remind myself. And I couldn't decide on a color for that texture. I ended up going with this lighter color right here. And then, here I'm adding, like, just ruggedness to the end of her dress, because her dress is made out of leaves, and it's not going to be, like, a complete straight line and, like, be so simple like that. And I did put in the time and, like, make it look more like leaves, but I ended up turning that layer off later because I don't know, wasn't feeling it. So, yeah, now we're working on the hair, and I had a lot of trouble with this hair, and I'm not entirely sure why, because I usually really enjoy coloring hair. But something just wasn't clicking, and I kept messing with it, and eventually I decided to move on because I'm like, no one will notice what it looks like if I don't mention it. But there you go, I mentioned it. So yeah, I just added these random strands, which actually helped disguise what I didn't like about it. I just added these strands, make it look a little messier. Oh, and then I added her little thread that she uses to tie up her hair, which is like very, very cute, and I don't think she has that in the newer movies, and I don't know, I really like it. Yeah, so and then I decided to make I wanted her to look glittery and like pixie dust everywhere, so I changed the background color to a much darker color so that it would show up, and I'm just adding some of that. Didn't like the one that looked like when I did the Cinderella picture, so I got rid of that. It just made it sort of like it was dripping off of her because she's flying. And then later, I didn't record this, but I do add like a circle gradient behind her so it looks like she's glowing, and there it is! It's finished illustration from bottom to top, and you can see like the texture on her dress. And there's Miss Sassy Face. There she is. I love her. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching me draw the process of TinkerBell. And if you're interested, you can go check out the last time I draw TinkerBell. I'm gonna warn you, it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but if you want to like check out progress, that's cool. It's always cool, you know. Yeah, I don't know why I'm still talking. Bye. Have a delicious evening for the waffles. Bye.